now. Sweet, I'm now live. The question now is if I go to youtube.com/user on the podcast, hopefully live now. Yes, I do. Silly. Hopefully this will work. I'm worried. I'm very, very worried. Chat, screen shared, capture. Well, you got to keep it running for a while and see what happens. There's live now. Good. Live now. If I go there, and then I just load comments, where are the comments? Where are the comments? I'm not seeing any comments on the thing, but then I have no viewers, so that's not too surprising. Hopefully this will work. I should probably also check my messages to see if anyone has asked me anything about this, because that would be important. Alright. Let me first go down the stairs so I can actually have some dinner, because dinner is important, and it is urgent. So that's fair. No viewers yet. Fair enough. I always get a little paranoid. That's good. Probably take care of those eggs. No viewers. Fair enough. I can live with that. Now, need more V8. I'll put that down. Still not there yet. Still not there. Hello, viewer. So why am I not seeing where do comments show up? They show stuff over there, but I should also have a comment thing underneath the video, but there's nothing there. Oh, that's quite a lag. Annoying. Hopefully I will eventually see comments showing up on the chat. Oh, shoot. I killed it. I killed it dead. It ain't happy. Alright, so that can go like this. How am I going to balance all this stuff? No problem. Well, I guess I'll just have to do it like this. Whoa. And I'll just have to balance and then bring my drinks up with me at a later date. I can live with this. I'm tripping. Only in the physical sense, not the intellectual one. Let's see here. Hello. Move back into the regular room. Back into the library. Where we do all of the buffet stuff. Only rarely have I moved out of the library. Let me show you guys some 3D printing today for fun. I discovered last time I did this that the group chat thing on the right really did not refresh much at all, which is unfortunate. Let me check that again. Yeah, that's quite a delay on the live stream. Interesting. Pardon while I start on my dinner. Oh, let me grab the computer, the other computer. There we go. So now I have my mini computer for the news itself. Oh, I will need to move the printer to one side so I can slide this back. Oh, but I don't want to move. Oh, good. I'm fine. It's all fine. It's all good. It's all fine. Don't worry. Now I can get meatball and cheese all over everything. So hello, viewers. As I mentioned before, I'm just getting set up here with stuff for live show. I'm glad folks are finding the link. Really tangled there. I think that's, yeah, there we go. Good. I'll be curious to see what the my numbers are now that I'm off Ustream. Already a couple of them, that's good. Good number of people. Do I see any comments on that? No, no comments yet. Okay. Good to know. Setting up my extra computer. This is where I actually show the news. You may be happy to note it's Ubuntu. Let's log into that. I can pull in the various news items from that. We shall see how that goes. So, all of my video things are okay. Close down a few other things I had open for my game earlier today. That I can also, yeah, that's kind of full up. So if you guys who are logged in, if you could quick do a comment in the comments section, the little chat box down there. Actually, where do you do, how would you talk here? Share? Add to? No. There's no real obvious comment thing on there. Oh, but I'm seeing it as myself. So it's probably not visible for me, so that's fine. But if you guys could post a comment there, that will let me see that the comment chat box is working. My second time doing this through YouTube Live, so I want to make sure. Oh. I hate when I bite my lip. Oh. Never good. I confess I have not been watching much anime this week. Basically none. So let me here. Pop that out. Okay, My Miracle. Seymour. Death Note Project. Mm-hmm. Bentol. Various licensing news. We definitely need to do a license check. Blu-ray releases. Annie Award, a big one. Broken Blade news. Animation Blu-ray delay. That's barely news. Crunchyroll stuff, some other licensing stuff. Naruto selling strong. Or, yeah, selling strong. Okay. Good, good, good. Good news. Hello, viewers. Again, just popping up the popping through the news so that we make sure we have the news. Oh, there's showing comments. There it is. And hopefully I'll be able to do something there. Hey, Sebastian. Hello, Dark Dev, Matt, Omex Heartless. Yes, I can see the comments, but I have to kind of run over and refresh. Unfortunately, they're not showing up in the little chat widget on here, so I'm gonna have to like do some kind of update thing. Hello, rock and roll. Mexican Otaku, good to see you. Never knows best. Cool. So how have you all been? Yeah, not lagging like Ustream. Excuse me. Anything big on the Blade Soul or Blade and Soul adaptation? Aoi Yuki will lead the cast with some other folks. Absurd outfits for the female characters, of course. We can't get past that. NS America, Pilot's Love Song. Streaming Bentol. Oh, License to Fuse. Excellent. Probably move the Hayao Miyazaki movie winning the Annie Award to further up. Oh, wait. I said move it further up. Don't not shove it back. I ended up spending a good chunk of Friday reading up on Doctor Who stuff on TV tropes. Much as I love it, it's amazing how much there is to Doctor Who. So I am eating a meatball and cheese sandwich that I got while I was out today. Sorry to hear about that. Long live rock and roll. Good old university stress. Yep, all those tests. That's news. Hmm. So a new title from the creator of Wandering Sun. Um, about what's it going to be about? Will they tell us? Doesn't look like it. That's frustrating. Wagamama Chie-chan. Okay, well, at least that's significant. We will shift the Naruto news further up. Naruto selling well. Um, International Manga Awards, which, fair enough, good. Good number of news stories. Yeah, apparently the manga is better. Probably is. There are so many manga out there. It is a little absurd how many manga there are and adaptations of different things. There's just a huge amount. It is a big, 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 big thing. So I need to find out if did I get my Miracle? Do I have it sitting here somewhere? Not that I would ever condone, downloading fan subs of things or at all, that I would ever do that. Certainly not. Um, hmm. I don't see it. Maybe not. I couldn't find a copy of it, oddly enough. But now there's a Kickstarter, so that's cool. Assassin's Creed, a video game. Not that I know anything about that. Hmm. So I wanted to show you guys a new toy. Or the easiest way would be to do this. Does anyone know what this is? Any guesses? Look familiar to anyone? From news? Oh, I can actually move the camera over. Any ideas? What is that? Besides the disc of Haruhi you see next to it. See if anyone has any thoughts on what that might be. All You Need Is Kill has a manga. Interesting. That appears to be a successful thing. Originally, All You Need Is Kill, it was a light novel, I think, right? Dark Devil has it right. That is the 3D printer. Back. Made this a couple nights ago. This, unfortunately, had a problem with the filament, but made this the other day. Pretty cool. And I think I printed this today. I can't see because it doesn't want to focus. There we go. That's a fun thing. I'll have to figure out how to make use of that for anime. I have not read Aku Hana. I want to though. It's dark. Interesting. To show you guys the manga I got in Japan. Not that I remember the name of it, because it was in Japanese. Where is that? Mm. Of course, it's already been translated, even though it's not out here. It was over here. No. Where is it? Where did I put it? That's all not that. Hmm. That it? Can't be it. No, no, that's MBD Psycho. Completely different thing. Should be easy to see. It's all in Japanese. No. Where is it? Hmm. Bizarre. Perhaps I have it sitting around somewhere. Huh. Oh, that's a bust. Oh well. All my tax stuff came in. Blah. Oh yeah, I've seen previews for the anime of Flowers of Evil. And Vertical's doing a release, right? So that'll be good. So an anime chesshead is a cool idea. One of the difficulties is that you don't get much detail at that level of printing. So I don't know how well you could see the characters or recognize the characters. So that would probably be the big limitation, is finding characters that you could actually recognize. That'd be cool. Now, as you can see on this guy, like a tartan soldier type thing. Again, it's trying to focus on me. So if I can get out of the frame, maybe it will focus on it. Yeah, kind of. But you see, it's just the detail on that's pretty low. So got to figure out a better way of doing that. What if I pull back out? Oh, it's interesting. It's focusing on like middle distance. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get detail. Oh, hey, Red. Good to see you. I'm surprised at how many aliases I'm seeing actually in the chat. That those are getting through, if you will. I'm very glad Akuno Hana did what they did. I'm all for experimentation in animation. Unless we forget, a lot of the great animation of all time was rotoscoped. You know, good chunks of the early Disney films were rotoscoped for various definitions of the term, but Disney's filmed actors and actresses, excuse me, filmed actors and actresses, and use those as very close reference. So it definitely has precedent, and there's nothing inherently wrong with it, as long as it's used in a way that helps tell the story. Yeah, the reception, it was really interesting seeing how folks reacted to it, where people just screamed and yelled and just wanted to die in a fire, which is ironic considering that we're fans of Japanese animation, which is, not known for its smoothness and realism. So, yeah. What? Nice having a full stomach. Well, rock and roll, I don't know what good means. I hate when you get something stuck between your teeth. Can't quite pull it out. Mm, it's right there. Let's do it, I think, maybe. Ah. So many different things. Hey, Raka. We were talking Aku no Hana, aka Flowers of Evil. Because, of course, we must refer to anime by its original Japanese title when we don't know what most of those words mean, instead of an accurate or reasonably accurate American title. And that's not against anyone in the chat room. That's, that's what we've all received from translators and so forth. Oh, we should definitely call it Shinseki Evangelion, not Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's like, really? Man, we're all just using those words that we're used to seeing, or those titles we're used to seeing. But it is funny how folks get really uptight about that thing. It's like, but you don't know, for you it's random words. So why is that better than a translation that at least gives you some sense of what it's supposed to mean? I don't know. Perhaps I'm just being picky. I should pick out what we're going to do for the Classic Club. I was thinking of doing Panda Go Panda, even though there's not much to talk about in Panda Go Panda. But we don't need a really deep discussion topic for that. It certainly would qualify as a classic. See, here's the thing. In the original Japanese, Gundam, the Japanese term is Shin Kido Senki Gandamu Wingu. So it's not really any worse than New Mobile Report Gundam Wing. It's not the same. Well, the thing about things like Oremo is that, so call it My Sister is Cute, or Cute Sister. That's the point of the shortening is just to make a shortening of the full title. So shorten it in English. Why not? Yeah, Spice and Wolf, Wolf and Spice. Like, come on. So the funny thing about Attack on Titan, which if I haven't told you guys this, if I have, I apologize. But when I was in Japan, Attack on Titan was airing, and on all of the billboards and on all of the advertisements for that, they had the Japanese title, and on the actual thing, Attack on Titan in English. So all the official material used that title. I don't think there's any problem with using the title in America. That's fairly clear. Hello, Joseph Nee. Yeah, and calling it Gundam whatever is fine. And Gundam's okay because Gundam is the actual term. You know, there's no translation of that. It is a specific name for a thing, like computer or Intel. You know, it means what it means. It's Engaru. Right, the full Anohana title is longer, but that's what I mean, is that then call it, well, flower we saw. That's what, 4 syllables? I think that's reasonable. And that's same as Anohana, as well, Anohana is 4. So there we go. Flower we saw in English as opposed to anything else. Just seems to me. Right, exactly, Raka. You know, Gundam Wing instead of Gundamu Wing. People are silly. But that's okay. The mobile suit. It's a Gundam. One of those great moments. And it just doesn't seem to be, to me, to be the kind of thing that you'd probably want to scream and yell about. You know, let people call it what they call it, and let's prefer words that we actually know the definition of, as opposed to these other words. And as part of the thing is that the original creators were creating it for an audience, the Japanese audience, that knew what those words meant. So the idea that we should get it and keep it in a language that we don't understand is not really the intended recipient. It's not the way the audience is intended to actually receive it. They're supposed to know what all that means. You know, and I say that because I think it's important that, you know, instead of calling it Horomusco, if all we knew about the Wandering Sun was that it was called Horomusco, that doesn't tell us as much as if we know it's called the Wandering Sun. The Wandering Sun is a significant, you know, that helps you think about the theme. So I think it is important to help people understand what that thing is. Right, Samurai X versus Rurouni Kenshin or Wandering Samurai or whatever. You know, Rurouni doesn't really mean anything to us. You know, I use the term Rurouni Kenshin because that's just become, again, the name, and also we haven't really settled on, is it Wandering Samurai, is it Samurai X? But you know, come on. What is next on my digging deeper? That's a good question. I will let you know. Let me pull up my schedule. So that will be in one week. I can give you some hints at least. Yeah. So the next digging deeper I do will be digging deeper into a show that I have reviewed this season. Yeah, anime fans don't like hearing that their stuff is actually cartoons. I'm like, yeah, they are. Anime is cartoons. I'm sorry. You know, Either your definition of cartoons is way too specific for how the general public uses the word cartoons, or vice versa. I mean, that's what they are. It's okay. Yeah, and most of us just call it Kenshin, which I think actually that might have been a better compromise. Call it Kenshin, because that is a show very much about that character. Again, it doesn't fit in with Rurouni. I mean, a more accurate translation would be Kenshin the Wanderer, which I think would be a better. I think that would be a good title. But they didn't ask me. Exactly. Keeping secrets there never knows. Remaining coy. I mean, if you guys guess, that's fine. But it's always fun to be keep things a little quiet, or keep a few surprises. Right. How do you different? Well, that's not actually rock. That's actually prog rock, or whatever. It's like, all right, whatever. You know, and it's fine. I have that problem all the time with electronica and like techno. I have a terrible time telling which is which, what genre a particular piece of electronica is. Is that house or jungle? I don't know. It's always a confusing one for me because there are like 21 different subgenres of like techno, much less all the other variations. I just like it. That's all I can say. Kenshin the Killer. Well, the thing is, Rurouni doesn't mean killer. It just means wandering samurai, really. A Ronin was a samurai who did not have a specific lord, the daimyo, that he was allied with. So Rurouni is referring to that kind of a thing. So again, it's hard because samurai has very specific meanings to the Japanese that haven't necessarily translated to the rest of the world. I mean, the rest of the world probably have a very idealized version or a simplified version of the samurai versus what a Japanese audience knows, and what any of us probably knows. And the term, Ronin has strong connotations within their society. Plus the fact that Ronin has come to speak of students between high school and college who are studying for the entrance exams and haven't gotten in yet. So there's a sense of being in limbo, if you will. So the term has not just those historical significances. So using that in your title has these various connotations. So it's complicated. It's why you're never going to get an accurate translation of anything. Stefan, the topic changes all the time. Yeah, call them Chinese cartoons. That's good. Yeah, aren't they all just made in China? Even better, start saying, well, they're all just really cheap kids cartoons that where nothing ever happens and there's no movement. That's what anime is. Watch heads explode. Kenshin the Hobo. Hobo actually would not be an inaccurate term. I mean, and that actually captures some interesting connotations of the word. Techno's interesting because, not to get too far off on that topic, but techno was basically invented by a guy, Kenny something or other. I have a book about it down there. Who I think it was Chicago in the 80s just started playing this electronic music that he invented. And he invented the entire thing. It just kind of didn't exist before him. Folks have obviously done electronic music, but techno, was invented as a genre by one guy. Kind of amazing. What's going on here? It wants me to do a backup of a laptop that has no data on it whatsoever, so that's good. And it wants to update its software, of course. Every week there's an update to the software. Yeah, just one guy. Hey, Marvin. Thank you, Stefan. I try. Yeah, Kenny Loggins. No, it's not Kenny Loggins, but Kenny something or other. If I'm remembering the name right. Kind of amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of disco in early techno. Wow, a lot of updates. No, I updated this last week, and suddenly there's all these sorts of changes to GNOME and Perl. Oh, there's an update to Perl. There's an update to Perl. Perl. Wow, I didn't know that. Not that I paid attention. Update to some Python interfaces. All right, we're gonna hold that off to one side because I don't really want to do that. So new starts in about 10 minutes. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a giveaway this week, but maybe I will. 14 viewers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, more disco. Well, let me pull out the various posters and see what I can give away. So let's see here. I know there was one or two in here that we identified previously that I haven't given away yet. That one, I don't know why I keep this one because I'm never going to give this away. It's like, really? That's the only thing there, so I'm just going to toss that. Similarly, this one, I'm not even going to show that on screen. No, I'm just going to kill that one. Catalia, I don't think anyone cares. This is oh, that's a very nice Nanoha. Any of you guys watch Nanoha? Or watch Nanoha? There's a very nice Nanoha poster here. Fate, plus, of course, Nanoha. It's a big poster, it's full size. The back I cannot show on air. It's also Nanoha and Fate, completely naked. Yay. So any interest in that one, Nanoha poster? Momori Himari, that's what that is. No problem, Mexican Otaku, it happens. I'm just glad that you got back to me because I was afraid you wouldn't get it. So there's some interest in that Nanoha poster. Again, the little Saki mini poster there, which is rather cute. Nice. I get much better detail out of this than on Ustream. Folks can actually see what these posters are. Saki, if anyone's interested, and then this. Not sure what this is. I recognize it from somewhere though. So that's one option. Again, that's visual novel thing. Let's skim through. Unfortunately, no Gundam posters. This one's gotta have some. Oh yes, this one's gotta have some attention. I know I showed this off last time. Who is up for? Okago tea time. Rather pretty. On the back, you get a rather etchy Strike Witches poster. With implied nudity, which is always good. We'll do the giveaway in about 8 minutes. Yeah, it's a shame. So I'm pulling this from Megami magazine, which is a nice index slash railgun thing. It's also Megami, um, all Megami, and Megami Deluxe, of course. These are all Megami's. Megami does a lot of. It's a normal kind of a magazine with material in it. Megami Deluxe is basically just posters. So if you just want the posters, I'm sorry about that. Let me go to Megami Deluxe. Again, Nanoha stuff, but nothing spectacular. If you guys like Index slash Railgun, there are some nice ones in here. And I gave away a big version of some of those, but oh, this is what I was talking about actually. Remember I mentioned there was a Railgun poster that I thought was really creepy, and then folks said actually it's not that bad when you just look at it. Here's what I'm talking about. So I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's they're obviously underage. But if you don't know what's going on here, it's perfectly innocent. Like, oh, that's true. So this is an option. The back, I can show you, but be aware it's a little etchy. So we'll just do it briefly there. And then alternately, well, anyway, yeah. And the rest, again, this is a very etchy issue, so I don't think any of the rest of these are work safe to show. Let me see what folks think of that. Gundam X-rated. So I was interested in Mio. The chick with the bloody vampire. Oh, must be Helsing, I assume. And there's just kind of random characters in here. There is one in here that might make a few folks kind of gasp. Maybe I've shown this one before, but anyone care for that one? And then for no apparent reason, an Ica Zero poster, which is nice, but again, not work safe to show here, especially not on YouTube. And then yeah, Charger Girl and various amounts of nudity. So any particular thumbs up on that? Well, the thing about that one, Otaku, that you probably couldn't see. I'll actually show it to you again so you know what I'm talking about. Because if you get it, you should know this. That's transparent. So yeah. I know it's not clear there. And the problem with not safe for work stuff is that all this stuff is being content ID matched and filtered by YouTube. So if I show anything that even looks like it contains nudity, YouTube might flag it as actual, hentai. So I gotta be careful of that there, unfortunately. Oh, a lot of interest in Rin. Good. Now the other one is not Saber. That is Agent Aika. Again, with the only. And then weirdly, there's a Darker Than Black, bath scene, because that's what you think when you think Darker Than Black. And then various other, yeah. Annoying. I think I did pull out a few of these though for various giveaways, so that's why there are some. There's, the rest of it's nudity. And do I have any other Megami Deluxes in here? I think these are just regular Megamis. Ooh. So a lot of interest in Rin there. Maybe I'll do the Rin giveaway. I love that Sorno Water poster. Nothing too wonderful here. Although I think I pulled out a lot of them, that's why. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, the ones at the front of the magazines are usually kind of the normal work safe ones, and the ones at the back get more into, you know, bathing scenes and such. So who's this? Let's see who knows their anime better than I do. So who's this from? Any bets? Or any thoughts? I asked, I just don't know. You know, it's all Japanese up there. She's staring into your soul. Yeah, so we'll do a giveaway here, and then we'll start the news. So I see a lot of thumbs up for Rin. I think we'll do the Rin. We'll give away the Rin poster. I got all these from JList, basically, and sites similar to JList. Just order them from the site. Expensive, though. So that's come from Japan. All right, so that was I think that was back here, right? I want to make sure so I can actually pull it out for the giveaway. And if you guys are very good, I'll show you some of the not safe for work ones later. Yeah, so there's the Rin poster. Just so you know, on the back of that, you get, of all things, freezing. That's a cute little thing, and pretty work safe. I mean, there's some panty flash, and the girls' outfits are torn up. Particularly the little girls one, that's nice. And there is panty flash on the little girls, so you might want to be aware of that if you have sensitive parents looking at your room, that kind of thing, or sensitive other people. But all right, so we'll give away that Rin poster. I'm going to do that based on whoever's at the bottom of the chat room. Excuse me. Because now the chat room's flipped. So whoever's at the last of the page on the chat room will get this particular poster. And so that is going to be Dark Devil 2011. Congratulations, Dark Devil. So if you could please post into the chat room, into the comments there, your state or province to indicate that you have won and acknowledge that you have won it. Then I can send that out to you. I will let you know how to do that. The Dark Devil, just put in your state and province. That way, when I get your address, I'll know it's from you. It's interesting what actually shows up in these. Again, lots of. Now this is these are from a couple of years ago, so you're not going to see, you know, Attack on Titan. The Megami Deluxe is from. I actually have a date on here that I can see. It's usually in normal English. Well, in English, I shouldn't say normal. So I don't know when that's from, but this Megami is from 2010. This one's from, let's see here, 2011. So yeah, they're all a few years old. I think revealing state or province is not that bad in terms of stuff. Cool. All right. So I will post in the chat room, and we'll see if this triggers the. Yeah. No, it can't contain links. That might do it. There we go. So it's Brent@otakunovideo.net. So email me your address, and I will ship it out. And actually, we're a few minutes late for the news, but I'm going to real quick put a sticky in here so I remind myself to cut it out so there's no extra delay in that. Unfortunately, I have to mail these things out. I have to like take time off work. Well, not take time off work, but I have to, you know, take a break from work, drive to a post office, and mail it to actually get it out there. So it takes, you know, it's something I need to schedule time for. So I'm glad to do it. It's not a problem. It's just there's it's something that I can't just like run out tomorrow and do. I have to figure out my schedule. So sometimes it takes a week or two for me to actually find time to get it out there. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So let me start on, no, let me start on the news. And I just need to pull up my news recorder. I'm just going to shift my camera over because of how I'm positioned today. And then we will start on the news. We'll type in the right password to get into the account. There we go. We skim through a few things. Yep, 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 yep. Oops. Yep. Cool. So we will start recording here in a minute. Unfortunately, I can't record straight to YouTube while I'm broadcasting. That would be cool. All right. To make sure we're pulling the right stuff. We are. Sweet. And here we go. And welcome back to the anime and manga news for the week ending February 8th, 2014. Starting off with the My Miracle Kickstarter. The Kickstarter for a release of the My Miracle film, which launched earlier this week and funded its $30,000 goal within a day. Wow. It now has added a stretch goal of an English dub if it gets up to $60,000 for its final for its funding, with the suggestions for who should produce the dub. They have said that they have friends in the USA, so fortunately they're not starting completely from scratch on a dub. But hopefully, if it gets up there, then that's an awesome thing. This is a Kickstarter from the British distributor Anime Limited, so it would be at least in English, but probably licensed at least in Britain. So we'll see where that goes. You know, the good news there is because they said friends in the USA means they actually like dub it over here. Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, moving on to some news from the Studio Ghibli world. We have an announcement that Hayao Miyazaki won the Annie Award for writing in an animated feature production. The Annie Award is the animation industry's award ceremony. The Wind Rises was also nominated for character animation in animated feature production, but lost to The Croods, sadly. Of course, it was also competing for Best Animated Feature, along with Letter to Momo, but Frozen was chosen for that one. There's actually a neat little joke during the ceremonies that Patrick Warburton was saying that The Wind Rises is Miyazaki's 5th and final feature, so I can't wait to see the 6th. Thank you, Patrick. Those who don't know, Hayao Miyazaki's retired like 7 times. Anyway, moving on to some sad news, unfortunately. Anime dub director Kevin Seymour passed away this past week. He was director for a number of tremendous anime dubs, including most of the dubs for Ghost in the Shell, Macross Plus, the second dub of Akira, Perfect Blue, Dot Hack, as well as Orange the Third, Metropolis, and Code Geass Lelouch of the Rebellion. He co-founded a U.S. renditions and the Animes dubbing studio. So sad to see his passing. Moving on, there is going to be a 10th anniversary project for Death Note. So the 5th volume of the Shueisha Jump Remix version of Death Note came out recently with this announcement of a 10th anniversary project. Date will be March 3rd of this year. Who knows what that means? The Blade and Soul MMO from Japan is getting a new anime by Gonzo. Looks like a pretty standard MMO out there, but it is inspired more by martial arts fantasy, so wuxia films, that kind of a thing, as opposed to sort of Western fantasy tropes. The outfits look pretty ridiculous. Looks like an all-female set of main characters. Main character voiced by Aoi Yuki, who voiced Madoka of Madoka, as well as Akira in Valvrave. So, good place to start. Meanwhile, some licensing news, among others. NIS America has announced they've licensed the Pilot's Love song. Funimation announced they're going to be streaming Bento this month. So it's, it'll be subbed to subscribers starting on February 11th, and then free streaming starting 2 weeks later. That's pretty cool. NIS America has also announced they've licensed Fuse, Memoirs of a Huntress, an anime film that came out I think last year or the year before, not quite sure. I've actually seen bits of this film, and it's gorgeously animated. Neat little thing. It'll be released on Blu-ray, English subbed, for a suggested MSRP of $50. Includes a hardcover art book, so that would explain part of the cost, plus Japanese commercials and stuff along those lines. So nice limited edition release of that coming up soon. Speaking of which, Aniplex USA has announced they'll be offering a Madoka Magica Rebellion Blu-ray in April. Collector's edition will be $95 and the standard $55. Both editions will include a trailer, commercials, opening, and the audio commentary. Collector's edition will also include box, packaging art, and then a special commemorative theatrical release video, plus a booklet and the soundtrack CD. So a lot of stuff there actually for your money. The Broken Blade films are going to be released on TV. This is a quite popular mecha series of movies that are being basically split out into a TV series. 6 films will be adapted into a 12-episode TV series with new scenes added, plus a spin-off OVA project that's already in the works. So you'll be able to see a good chunk of new material, apparently, with this new version, which is a good thing. We'll have a new opening theme song by Sayaka Sasaki and an ending theme by Aira Yuki. That'll be premiering in April. You can actually get all the films right now from Sentai Filmworks in North America. Quick note on some DBZ news, because everyone cares about DBZ. Funimation has announced they're delaying the Season 2 Blu-ray release of Dragon Ball Z from February 18th to March 4th. So just a couple of weeks delay there on the Season 2 Blu-ray of Dragon Ball Z. This happens occasionally with Funimation. They have, production delays. Moving on to a little bit of a little bit of manga news about Naruto. The 64th volume of Naruto is #1 on Nielsen Bookscan's top 20 graphic novel sales in January. So #1 best-selling graphic novel period in January, at least in the U.S. So Naruto's still quite popular in Japan, at least on the manga front. Volumes 10 and 1 of Attack on Titan were the 2nd and 3rd slots, followed by Naruto 63 at #10. 2 other volumes of Attack on Titan at #8 and 19, and then a Monster Musume and Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal also on the list. So doing quite well. The 7th International Manga Award was won by an artist from Thailand. Quite interesting. Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan has announced the winners and runners-up of the 7th International Manga Awards. I'm going to murder this name, so pardon me. Jatukanya Prateep is the winner of the 7th International Manga Award. And I hope I got that decently well. It is for the manga Bok Big, or the comic Bok Big, however you want to describe that. Silver awards went to George Alexopoulos' Paris, Navarre's Carrier, and Francis Porcel and Zidrou's De Folie Bergère, plus other awards, of course, for various things. So interesting there that these International Manga Awards, no Japanese titles, unless Navarre. I think Navarre is a Japanese person. So yeah, there we go. Takako Shimura, the artist behind The Wandering Sun, Horomusko, has announced she's going to be starting a new manga alongside her upcoming serialization of Musume no Iede. The new manga will be titled Wagamama Chie-chan, basically called Selfish Chie-chan, and unfortunately that's about all we know about it so far. But more manga from the creator of Wandering Sun. That's a good thing. And that is the news for this week. So that's it, and thank you for watching. That's it. Is that it? That's it. So what's worthy of backstory? I already explained the thing about the final feature from Miyazaki. I probably should say that for the backstory. Kevin Seymour, not really Death Note. There's not really any backstory this week. Yeah. Probably could have shortened some of those things to save stuff for the backstory, but that's fine. Hey, Cat Becca. Just scrolling down to see what I missed. There we go. Yeah, Thai manga. Kind of interesting. Seto no Hanayomi. Gotcha. Let me just do a quick search on that because the name rings a bell. Of course, it's very slow when I'm streaming. Oh, My Bride is a Mermaid. That's what that is. Gotcha. That's what I'm talking about, mermaids. And there she is. Interesting. I think I watched the first episode of that. I think. Yeah, I'm unsure about the whole thing about Naruto ending this year. I mean, I know that what's his name? Kishimoto said it's in its final phase, all that kind of stuff. But you know, I don't know. I have a tough time believing they're actually going to kill that particular goose that laid the golden egg. Um, I mean, I'm looking around the internet right now about that rumor, and I'm not seeing any references to the original. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that's the kind of thing that seems to me is going to keep on going for a long time. Yeah, and I I understand Kishimoto wanting to say I'm going to end it in within 2014, but really maybe I certainly don't know Naruto well enough to know that you know where it is story wise. But that seems to be the kind of thing that you milk for as long as you possibly can. And again, it's been going on for about a decade now, right? Ah, I see, Marvin. Yeah, that's one of the problems with getting into anime early. Is there's some things where it's like, what are they talking about? I don't get it. I kind of expect you to know what you're talking about. And all those jokes. All right, so I'm gonna hold off on that. Put the thing to the side. Ah. So it is time technically for talking about cooking. I've already had my dinner. I'm not sure what to do for cooking today because I've got. You know what I can do? I can shrink this up. I don't need to see myself. There we go. I can even do a side by side thing. Let's see both at once. Nice. So I'm not sure what to do about cooking. Again, I can always make something, but no. Well, here's the thing. There have been manga that have been in their final arc for years. So, you know, I don't know. The guy behind One Piece said that One Piece is now at least halfway over. I think is at least truthful. Yeah, who knows? Dark Devil, I posted my email address as a comment earlier on. Just scroll down to see where I posted as I'm talking to a video. Email your physical mailing address to that email address, and then I will send you the poster. That's how that works. Heck, look at Crayon Shinchan or Doraemon. Those have been going on for many decades. They're older than any of us. Literally older than any of us. I mean, yeesh. The anime of Crayon Shinchan started in the early 70s or late 60s, early 70s, and has been going on every week since. Of course, that's episodic, so they keep chopping things in and out. Yeah, so that's the interesting thing, Camille is that Kishimoto. There's that balancing act. Is that if Kishimoto ends Naruto, then his next project can get a lot of attention. So there is sometimes value to ending one project and starting another one because you can at least get a lot of attention out of that. So if he at least has something else in mind, then I can imagine the publisher saying, "Okay, we'll let you do that." But otherwise, there's going to be intense pressure for them to keep that going. We'll see. So that makes a little more sense. Crayon Shinchan is actually it's just little short, um, not clips, but little short pieces. So every episode is made up of I don't know 4 or 5 of these little short stories. And so what they do is they just keep reshuffling those around. They'll animate new ones, all the time. But then you'll get a short from this time period and this time period and this time period, and you just keep shuffling them in and out. So you never know what story you're gonna get next. It wouldn't surprise me to see that Doraemon is the mascot of the 2020 Olympics. Although the licensing fees for that would be hideously expensive compared to making a new one. I gotta believe they could make their own mascot cheaper, but that may not be the intent. It may be like, well, Doraemon's big enough. It kind of makes sense for us. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I believe you're right. It's a monthly series. Still going strong. Apparently, they revealed some stunning stuff just like in the past year in Oh My Goddess that kind of turns everything on its head. Which I didn't think he'd do that, but he according to whatever website I was seeing, there's some, you did what thing revelation in Oh My Goddess this past like a year or two ago, in which like goes back all the way to the first volume, the first stuff. It's like you actually were paying attention. That's amazing. Generally speaking, shonen series last longer than their popularity. So as long as Naruto is popular or Bleach or whatever, I think it's just going to keep on chugging along. Um, that's my sense. Look at Dragon Ball Z and GT and all that stuff. So I think we have to look beyond when, how long is it going to take fandom to wind down about Naruto? Then it's going to die, a year after that. A year or two. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of scheduling. Who knows? Okay, cultural ambassador. Yeah, that makes more sense. Cultural ambassador, where it's a character they'll sort of flash around here and there. Olympics is a weird thing anyway. I mean that's a whole it's a whole thing. It's a different world. So many things are owned by the Olympic Committee. I could never understand the appeal of Initial D. But then I'm not a race car person. I had a friend who was into racing and into anime, and Initial D was just heaven. Exactly, rock and roll. They'd rather hope there'll be another surge in popularity of Naruto and they can keep on milking that forever instead of a new idea, which is risky. And there are plenty of examples of a mangaka starting something new which just fails and just does not get a lot of attention. Especially, I mean, this is Kishimoto's first big shonen series. So it is not proven that he has in him more than one successful work. Well, Marvin, they have been trying to find the next big thing. That was Toriko. That was a flop, relatively speaking. I mean, Toriko is successful enough, but it is certainly not the next big thing. Camille, I do not work for Sunrise, so I cannot confirm whether an adaptation is coming. Thus far, it is still, I mean, what is it, a couple of years ago now, Tomino announced at a press event that they were doing an anime adaptation of Gundam the Origin, and then we never heard anything about it ever since. So that's all I know. There has certainly not been any formal announcements of a Gundam the Origin anime adaptation that I know of. And as I mentioned last week, I'm kind of glad of that. I don't. Mm, it could go well, but I'm not convinced that's a good idea. See you, Raka. Thanks for stopping by. So the thing, Marvin, is that the manga companies don't decide that a manga is going to be popular. They have to release something and then get in the comments from folks and see what's popular before they actually, it has to be popular for it to be popular. Folks have to actually buy the thing. So it's not a matter of the manga companies coming up with the next big manga, the next big shonen manga. They gotta bring in more and put them in the magazine and see what works, see what sells Shonen Jump. Attack on Titan is certainly a huge shonen property. The thing is, that's a good question. The thing is, it's not a shonen property in that like Dragon Ball Z Naruto sense because there's not enough content. that anime is not going to last forever. That anime is just going to, that it comes and it ends, and that's that. Um, but you know, unless the manga does become a huge perennial bestseller, certainly could happen. Gintama, I get the sense that Gintama is certainly successful, one of the larger successes, but not enough to be considered one of those that A class Naruto thing. Again, it comes to the next big thing, and part of it that we have to remember is that this is we're in weird times here, where we have three massively popular shonen titles, shonen fighting type titles, where that just doesn't happen. Um, it's never happened before. So they're trying to find out what's going to happen. Really, we're not going to know what happens until Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece all fade away, and then we get another big one to come in. There's not enough space really in the market, I don't think, for four at a time. I, Thank you, Marvin. Yeah, Bakuman's another example of a title that Shonen Jump really tried to push up, but didn't really. Again, it was successful, but it was not a big rousing success. Yeah, I agree, Marvin. Well, they got one. I've seen one shonen series, not all the way to the finish, but that's because everyone told me never watch the end of it. Yeah, wait, look at outside of that, look at Angry Birds. Nobody who saw Angry Birds when it first came out said this is going to sell tens of millions of copies. Who knows? Attack on Titan. I mean, there was no indication Attack on Titan would blow up. Ah, thank you, Camille. That explains Attack on Titan. It's a monthly series. Yeah, it's interesting times. Interesting times. Yeah, and it's complicated because there's shonen and then there's shonen. There's shonen is in the broad genre of manga for boys, and then there's shonen in the sense of fantasy adventure involving team of heroes facing bad guys in long form combat, which is the Dragon Ball Z model that we see in a lot of these series. Um, that's the that thing. And to that point, to Camille's point about Attack on Titan being a different magazine, um, a lot of other companies and publishers can't afford to make a show like Naruto or Bleach or One Piece where you're producing more animation every week. That's expensive. It takes a lot of time, and you know, as inexpensive as some of those episodes look, someone's still drawing out a lot of that stuff, or all of that stuff. So it's rare to get a show that warrants it and has a publisher willing to put that much money into it, and finding the sponsors and all that to pay for it. That's the other issue. I don't know about Beelzebub. Fairy Tale, I get the feeling, like Marvin says, it's kind of a middle of the road series. Certainly has its fans, certainly doing fine. When I was in Japan, there was certainly Fairy Tale stuff. I actually watched an episode of Fairy Tale on Japanese TV, um, but certainly hasn't broken up into that sort of AAA level. Um, well, the other thing about it, Count Mecha, is that of course it's not just the mangaka. The mangaka has six assistants all sitting with him or her. All one of them is drawing the buildings, one of them is drawing the side, one or two side characters, one of them is drawing the forests. And it got to the point with Osamu Tezuka where he was basically just drawing the faces, and the assistants were drawing, but all the bodies, all the backgrounds, everything else. He was just sketching in the character's face. Somebody else would even clean up the face. And it's one of the reasons why he was able to produce hundreds of thousands of pages of manga. It wasn't just him drawing all that stuff. Um, but like, as you said, even there, even when you have several assistants, doing 10 to 20 pages a week is nuts. It is crazy. When they say they have no lives, they ain't kidding. It's 12, 14-hour days, 16, 18-hour days sometimes to get all that stuff out. And even when the art suffers, it's still quite technically proficient art. You contrast that with like an indie comic, and having art issues. An indie comic over here, it gets art issues and it just falls apart. Over in Japan, suddenly, you know, you see issues, but you're still seeing everything. It's interesting, Camille, that Attack on Titan's creator pitched that to Shonen Jump and got rejected. Gotcha. Yeah, and there is a large graveyard of shonen titles and manga series that died out of nowhere, just because for all sorts of reasons. Yeah, there's a lot of titles that just kind of died, and then of course they come over here and we get volumes 1 and 2, and then you know they stop publishing because they couldn't sell it. So there's that graveyard as well. And translation, things never got translated. Yeah, last I've heard, Bakuman is still regarded a reasonably accurate description of the manga industry. Obviously, what happens to the protagonists is pretty absurd. That doesn't happen to most people, but at least they apparently make that clear in Bakuman that their A story is not something you should expect happen to you. Yeah, and I'm glad we have something like Bakuman because it really shows folks what it's like. The fact that it shows them making the hamburger, if you will, and that education helps folks to understand that, oh, this is complicated. There are a lot of factors to it, and it's not just saying I'm going to create whatever I want. I'm going to create what I like. Well, yes, that is true to an extent. As opposed to completely following what the market wants. But in the same way, you're making this for a magazine that has a particular demographic, and it's in a market that's in a particular place. And so they're looking for certain things that if you want to do that, that's going to fit better. So it's all balance. There's nothing that falls that black and white on that whole level. I think at least. So yeah, manga's in a weird, not just a weird, but it's a very specific field with very specific things. It's one of the reasons why I have this problem. Just about every time I go to a con, and I'll be at Katsucon, by the way. Every time I go to a con, I stumble across somebody who says, my dream is to make manga in Japan. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain to them that just doesn't happen. It has happened in the past, but it's it's a very hard road for many reasons. Any thoughts on Hunter x Hunter? Haven't watched it. I watched the first episode of the anime, but that was all set up preparation stuff. It's for me, Hunter x Hunter is precisely classic, Dragon Ball Z derivative shonen series. Nothing wrong with it. Folks are gonna like it, but it just does not appeal to me at all. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, Otaku, Mexican Otaku. It's hard to expect anything in anime to ever happen to you. It's, everything's a one-off, it seems. That's a whole world that you shouldn't really expect to really happen to you. You're not going to live with six cute girls who are all jumping your bones. Same with JoJo Omax. I doesn't appeal to me. Why was D Gray Man moved to another magazine? I don't know. Good question. Probably the original magazine, was growing in a direction that didn't fit D Gray Man, and he shopped it around, and another magazine said, "Sure, we'll take it." That's pretty rare because there's that whole loyalty to the original magazine view, but it can happen. It can certainly happen. And of course, we're only seeing as much of the manga world as is released from it, in the sense that I'm sure there's all sorts of stories and explanations and interviews that have never gotten out of Japanese print that we never see. So there's a whole other side of that world that's still invisible to us. Yeah, and true in literature and film and TV. It is sad to me how many people go so far into their lives and into their adulthood still thinking that all they need is one brilliant idea, and then they sell it maybe, and that becomes a huge invention, and then they make lots of millions of dollars and live in Malibu or something. A lot of folks have very immature views of how especially creative industries work. You see that even today. You see it in books. I actually taught a creative writing course at the through the local adult ed, um, and in preparation for that, I went on. I did a lot of reading up on it, and I've done a lot of reading on that in the past. Anyway, so I've read online a lot of this kind of stuff, and folks who think that all they need is one good book idea, and they will immediately be Dan Brown. And they'll immediately sell a bazillion copies. And writing a book takes a month, maybe 2 months tops, and then you submit it to a publisher, and they all fight over the contract, and you get paid $1 million. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And you mentioned the American Dream, rock and roll. The funny thing about the American Dream is that the original term of the American Dream was that you come to America, you get a decent job, and you get a modest thing. You get a house with a white picket fence out in the suburbs. That was considered, a normal aspirational thing, but then it wasn't guaranteed to everyone. It's like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The American dream was were now in a place where you could get to these things. That they were now options. But you still had to go through all the normal stuff to get there. That you still had to hold down a job for a while. But these days we refer to the American dream, and on both sides of both sort of the critical sides of the fence and the folks who say, but this isn't, but the American dream said you should have this. Is that it's like, it's like there are 350 million, half-acre plots of land in America, each with a house with a white picket fence, and everyone should have one. And it's just weird. Yeah, exactly, Mixon Otaku. Money does not come from the one brilliant idea. Yeah, the comics industry, that's another great example where I get to just draw all day. No, more accurately, I'll get to draw my favorite superhero all day. No, you won't. You won't draw all day. Or you may draw all day on, Ant-Man. Um, it's different. Yeah, and there's a lot of cattiness in all industries anyway. a lot of people get really weird thoughts about the wealthy, and they think that the people who are wealthy don't deserve it, um, or that there's something wrong with having a lot of wealth. And I've known a lot of wealthy people, and the distribution of good and evil is the same as in general society. You know, I don't think it's a moral force. The longest shonen anime I have seen. So do you mean? And I'll try to answer both questions. Do you mean what's the show that I've watched the most episodes of, or what's the show that has gone on for the longest that I have seen episodes of? So I watched the first two seasons of Rurouni Kenshin, of which there are only 3. So, and everyone says third season's horrible, so I stopped there. Because Kenshin's the one I've seen the most of, but I've seen episodes of Naruto and Bleach and One Piece, and all of those have been going on for forever, and don't have a final episode yet, so they're technically infinite. And bits of Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, I've seen various things. Of those, again, sort of super shonen series, I've seen Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, again, all episodes here and there. Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. Any others? Hunter x Hunter, the new Hunter x Hunter anime. Scrolling through the list to see if there's anything else that I'm missing. Probably 1 or 2, but those are the big ones. Yeah, Stan Lee was involved in the creation of many, many superheroes, and a lot of them failed miserably. And a lot of characters, too. I mean, they were doing lots of detective stories and horror stories that were just, it's John Johnson, Private Eye. That's a terrible name for a superhero, for Private Eye. But anyway. Yeah. You'll know this better than I. I'll become a video game tester, and I get to play my favorite video games all day. No. No, no, no. And of course, there are stories of people who stumble into success, who, the Mark Zuckerbergs. But I mean, even there, Mark Zuckerberg has done a lot, worked a lot of hours since then to make and keep Facebook a huge success. And secondly, it's luck. It's they happen to be the right person at the right time, and they happen to stumble across this thing. It doesn't mean, and then it's not going to happen to you, because you can't. You're trying to replicate luck. It doesn't happen that way. I do have a list of stuff I have watched. If you go to BrentNewhall.com, I need to change my lower third. Whoa, I have the wrong thing on the lower third. Got to change that. Whoops. Didn't realize that. If you go to BrentNewhall.com, BRENT, and actually, I can put up my own lower thirds. Let me add some text and move that down here. So anime I have watched is at, whoops, make it a little smaller there. There's all the anime I have seen and own. If you guys want to see that, it's right there. I've seen Fist of the North Star. No, I saw the first episode of Fist of the North Star. The 60s X-Men. Yeah, that was when the X-Men really got going. From what little I know of X-Men lore, definitely when Stan Lee left, X-Men found its way. Mainly because, from what I understand, again, Stan Lee was still working in kind of classic Marvel mode, where it's all a cohesive team of heroes. And once he left and they were able to do something interesting with the characters, and actually have them fight each other, basically, then suddenly things went somewhere. Interestingly, the same thing happened with Star Trek Next Generation. Gene Roddenberry had this absolute inflexible rule that the crew could not have any internal conflict within each other. There could be no conflict within the crew. And that's drama. That's the basis of drama. So the writers just couldn't go anywhere and suggest any sort of friction within the crew, and that's just very limiting from a story perspective. That's cool, Matsuno Taku. Yeah, I'd like to know what his name is. I mean, books generally do not sell well enough to make a living off of. That's very rare. And I've met some authors, and the ones that are making a living off of their writing are writing 12 hours a day. And it may not be novels either. Maybe they also have, magazine writing or whatever other stuff they do. But even the folks who have, big series that have like, movie deals and so forth, it's very rare. Even folks like Neil Stevenson have day jobs. Heck, Neil Gaiman has tons of. Neil Gaiman writes a lot. And we don't see that stuff. Um, gotcha, Count Becca. Interesting. Will fan-made anime cartoons ever be a thing? Well, what do we mean by a thing? And secondly, no. There are plenty of fan-made cartoons out there, but if you mean like a full TV series, the amount of time and effort it takes to make an animation means that fans cannot make that at any sort of time. It takes, excuse me, it takes dozens of people working full time to animate an anime series, and that's not counting special effects or voice acting or anything like that. But there's certainly plenty of cool fan-made stuff out there. I mean, Newgrounds is full of fan-made animation. It's certainly there. You get stuff like what is it, Senko Roll, fan-made anime. Heck, Voices of a Distant Star, technically. Any thoughts on Clamp animes? Do you like them? I like some. Others leave me cold. I have the first. Huh, where did those go? Oh, I was giving away. I got into a lot of Holic, Triple X Holic. I've got all of Angelic Layer, manga and anime. Love that show and series. I watched a bit of Tsubasa. I read and really enjoyed Cardcaptor Sakura. Not all of it, but I got the first few volumes into it. Watched 6 or 7 episodes maybe of the anime series. Tried Magic Knights Ray Earth. Didn't do anything for me. Again, I watched a few episodes of it and I just got bored of it. The characters weren't interesting and the villains weren't interesting and the plot wasn't going anywhere interesting. Let's see here. Any other Clamp out there that sort of caught my eye? I'm looking over my manga stack, manga shelves. Yeah, they do weird stuff. X is not my kind of thing. X was kind of ridiculous. Dark Devil, what do you mean that Gainax wasn't a studio made of otaku? That was exactly a studio made of otaku. They were just fully funded to make anime. I mean, they found otaku, but they were also, a running business that had a lot of money, and they were all working there full time. So that is a studio made of otaku. But trying to think where you'd put Ruby on the scale of fan made. I don't know if you'd call him a fan. He certainly is. That's interesting. It's kind of an unusual spot because I don't know where you would. I guess are we talking about? I mean, I'm not disagreeing it's fan made. I see where you're coming out with that label, but Ruby's kind of an interesting place, huh? Hmm. Yeah, Ruby's an unusual one. We need to figure out the what about four kids versus others? I do not understand the question. Am I heartless? Could you explain what you mean? Yeah, Gainax is definitely an otaku studio. Like I said, but the difference being there that they had a they had contracts to actually have the money to sit there and draw all day. So it's not fan made in that sense that it's an independent, um, on the side project. Yeah, indie gets in a whole different category. Um, um, I guess so. Some of the sort of conditions there are, do you have a full time job that's not this, and you're doing this on the side? I guess that's more what I would consider to be like a fan made thing. And then of course there's, is it like a fan product where it's like a like that Doctor Who anime thing we saw? That's definitely being done on the side by a person, but it's also a um, it's also based on an actual work. It's not just somebody's own idea and own project. Well, aren't the folks behind Ruby? Aren't they? Don't they have like a studio? Aren't they? Don't they like do that kind of stuff full time? I'm not sure. Who from Gainax went to Trigger? I don't know. I don't remember that. Yeah, I know. Arno does not work at Gainax anymore. He left them like 10 years ago. Although it's nice he's kept up his friendship with Hayao Miyazaki, which reminds me to track down that um, Ultraman Nausicaa parody thing he did. Yeah, X was huge. X was massively popular. I don't know, it just never triggered for me. It was too dark, it was too melodramatic, it was too over the top for my tastes. If I'm gonna have over the top, I want over the top comedy or over the top um, other things. Oh yeah, I mean, when I first started reading Tsubasa, I was like, oh yeah, there's that from Ray Earth and from this and from that. Yeah, there's callbacks to all sorts of stuff in Tsubasa. Yeah, Kickstarter's helping, although again, we don't have much indication that Kickstarter is going to be useful for the anime industry itself. Now, it seems to be fine for kickstarting, um, like translations and other projects like that. But in terms of actually funding the production of anime, not so much. And then of course, pure crowdfunding, you see things like Anipipo, I'm not Anipipo, Anime Sols, and most of those have failed. So crowdfunding is still an open question. I hope crowdfunding works. I think crowdfunding would be a very useful funding mechanism in general, in the world, not just for anime. But it's still an open question to be resolved. We need to see like Gynax going out there and saying you guys need to help. The problem is again, an anime series will cost between $2 and $8 million. So there's no way crowdfunding can do that. There are very few crowdfunding projects that have ever gotten that kind of money in anything. So the idea that an anime series will be able to get that is not likely. Anyone seen Kiba? Good question. I've seen Kaiba, not Kiba. I would agree with that, Zachary. A lot of anime goes for over-the-top darkness these days. Usually lack of strong plot. I mean, most anime is not strongly plotted for any reasonable definition thereof. Most anime has pretty straightforward plotting. Yeah, I've seen newer series. I just released a review of a Pet Girl Sakuraso. Let's see here. I'm thinking back to stuff I've watched recently. Well, I Space Dandy, Wizard Barrister. Watched a few episodes of those. Um, what else recently? Stuff like that. Omex Heartless, I'm not understanding what you're saying. It could be an English issue. I don't know what you mean by 4Kids seems off like it's not right. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, I don't think you could make the Bebop movie now. I think that staff is scattered to the four winds. I know you're joking, Marvin. Um, but and Marvin, it's an insightful comment because that gets back to this point that kickstarting has worked for things like um, Little Witch Academia, which was hugely popular in the West. You can't necessarily go for Kickstarter works for things that are already hugely popular, which is kind of a scary thing, actually. Oh, 4Kids dubs don't feel right. I don't know. I had no problem with the Shaman King dub. I thought they did fine there. Yeah, the Little Witch Academia did great. And that's the point, is that it was already a huge success over here in the West. So when they launched that, you know, on an English language site, and Kickstarter is a primarily English language site, it did very well because there was already success behind it. So somebody going out there and saying, we're going to do this thing called Aoi Hana, give us money, not likely, or not as likely as something like the Bebop movie, which has further implications where, again, do you really want an industry where the only thing that can actually succeed is something that is directly related to something that was hugely popular last year? That kind of we'll have to see how Kickstarter goes. I'd actually like to see something more like Patreon, a patronage project for anime. Thank you, Zachary. Well, I mean, I got into anime back in the '90s when licensing of recent series was a little harder, recent as of the time. So you tended to get a variety of different shows from a variety of different eras. So I'm just used to always seeing things from different eras, and then the more I learn about anime, the more I learn about those classic series that inform all of today. So I like constantly watching stuff from all different eras. I think that that's important and helpful. And there's just so much. So. Well, and 4Kids is important. I mean, people scream and yell about 4Kids, but let's point out that one of the reasons these shows are successful is because a company like 4Kids dubbed them, and they did something to make those shows work. So, whether or not one loves a dub or not, I have a tough time calling 4Kids the worst company in existence or whatever. Not that anyone here is saying that. I'm talking about the more general point. 4Kids goes crazy. Stefan, how much have you seen someone give over Kickstarter for a project? Well, the most success, I mean, it's been in the millions, right? Let's see here. Let's Google most successful Kickstarters. And of course, there's also how much they fund over their planned amount. Yeah, so there's the most funded on Kickstarter. They actually have a page for it. The most successful is for the Pebble Watch. That's 10 million. Then the Ouya, 8.5. Then the Veronica Mars movie project was 5.7. Torment Tides of Numenera, 4.1. A tabletop role-playing game. Or no, a video game of a tabletop role-playing game. 3.9 for Project Eternity. 3.8 for Mighty Number 9. 3.4 for Reaper Miniature Bones. 3.3 for Double Fine Adventure. So it's mostly video games. In fact, they're all video games or video game related except for Pebble, Veronica Mars, and the Reaper Bones. And that continues down for quite a few of them. The Zach Braff movie thing, there's a 3D printer, but otherwise it's video games. I think Little Witch Academia 2 is probably the most successful anime Kickstarter I've seen. And that was 625, so 500,000. So that gives you an idea of what we can expect out of that. I will answer your question, Doc Devil, about how I got introduced to anime in a while. Yeah, but exactly, Stephen and rock and roll. You know, 4Kids dubs are the intro to anime for a lot of people. They're the gateway drug for anime. You know, Marvin, folks have been trying to succeed off of anime for a long time and been failing. Anime is not nobody's found the right thing. You know, Western movie studios have been trying to do you know, adaptations of things. Here's the thing. Big Western movie studios are not good at animation. Let me ask you this. Like what? You know, what studios do you think would be good for doing this with? You know, besides the fact that anime has kind of peaked. Well, not peaked, but who do you know of who has not heard of anime? I mean, here's the thing. Well, a couple of things. Western studios do not make things big. They can put a big marketing push behind things, but Western studios are notorious for releasing things that tank. And so they're very, very risk averse. It's why every movie has to have an existing star in it. Why would they spend money on something that's not a sure thing? Or in what way is anime a sure thing? You know, why would they spend money on a big budget animated adaptation of something? I mean, anime is niche in the sense that well, the market is niche. The actual money in the anime industry, like in America and in Japan, really is niche. It is certainly well known, though. I think it is what's the term? It's broadly known. Everyone knows what anime is now. So it's certainly not obscure anymore. Yeah, and again, HBO is certainly an option, but again, you're looking at a relatively high budget. The other thing about this too is that understand when Americans make an animated project, and the name of the studio is not 6 letters starting with DIS. Guess where that gets animated? In Japan or Korea? So it's like, why would they spend money on something they're going to have to export to Japan anyway? And to other people's points, certainly, a lot of projects get put in development hell. There are certainly anime properties I would love to see like live action adaptations of, because I think they would be, and I mean adaptation, because I think they're really neat premises that could make for effective live action television or a movie or whatever. Don't follow it exactly, but take the same basic concept, same basic characters, and tell a story with that. I think you do great stuff. I was so excited when I saw that Witch Hunter Robin had been optioned for a Sci-Fi Channel original TV series. This is a perfect example of an episodic storyline where you take the basic characters and basic idea, and you can tell a great, like a Farscape or whatever kind of a story with. There's plenty of options for that. But the other thing too is that, you look at a lot of anime series, and adapting to live action doesn't really make sense. Because the special effects are would be difficult to mimic in live action, and it drives the cost up in a way that doesn't really help the story. But what exactly rock and roll? They'd rather spend the money on Dragon Tattoo or something that already has a huge following elsewhere. So, I mean, even Warner Brothers, all that's done in Japan and Korea, and now like the Philippines. Um, all the DC stuff, all the DC comic stuff, that's all been done in Japan and Korea for a long time. In fact, the explosions in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker were animated by the same guy who did the explosions in Akira, as it turns out, which is pretty cool. No one's seen The Cat Returns. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. The Cat Returns was originally going to be a made-for-TV movie, just a little project for Studio Ghibli to do, and apparently Hayao Miyazaki saw the storyboards and then saw how the animation was going and said, "This is so good, this deserves theatrical release." And so they lengthened it a little bit and sort of revamped the story a bit and made it into a full length movie. And it was the most successful movie of that year in Japan. It was a perfect. I don't know if it was like the highest grossing, but like everyone went to see The Cat Returns because it was this perfect like date movie. Yeah, the problem one of the problems with anime is that they're made for animation, so it's hard to um, adapt them to live action instead of just doing an animated product. In which case, why are you reanimating something that's already animated? You're not going to do it very well, and it's going to be done by the same people anyway. So, and again, adults don't watch animation in America, unfortunately. And then, of course, and then as you point out, Count Mecha, you also have licensing. Um, a Western studio would rather have an original product they completely control and make all the money off of than licensing something that already exists and it sold, a significant amount in Japan, but not a lot over here. And again, remember, a a um, a successful anime series in Japan will sell 20,000 copies, 30,000 copies. The otaku market in Japan is small. So it's hard to convince a Western studio of something something is popular and successful when you're dealing with, a small market within Japan, which is already a relatively small country in terms of population. Um, What makes anime anime? That's a good question. I'm thinking of doing a video on that for season 3 of a Talking About Video. Um, I think you can argue anime different ways. By the way, I haven't forgotten your question about how I got into anime. I'll get back to that. You can go lots of different directions. I consider anime to be animation that is executed in a particular style that is characterized by greater attention to facial expression and and character emotion in a drawing than in movement. Um, in the West, like at Disney, they will tell you that emotion comes from movement, emotion. Motion is what tells you something, which is why Disney movies tend to show characters, dancing across areas, and if you see something, then you move towards it. There's a lot of movement that indicates a character's expressions and personality. In Japan, they will tell you that personality comes from facial expression and from the eyes, particularly. Why do anime characters have big eyes? The eyes are the windows to the soul. So anime focuses on the expression of an individual frame, which they will hold for a while, as opposed to expressing that in movement. And there are other elements of it too. So I think that's what makes anime anime. I do not think that anime has to be made by Japanese people in Japan, because I find that view kind of racist. But it is, it's not an airtight definition. And I can certainly see different people, defining it in different ways. That's totally cool. Yeah, rest in peace, Satoshi Kon. Did the revival of Toonami help anime in the U.S.? Good question. I don't know. I don't have a TV, so I haven't been keeping up on it. I haven't seen anime improving for various definitions of improving since Toonami was revived. I'm not seeing higher sales of discs. I'm not seeing dramatically larger conventions. It certainly didn't hurt, but again, I'm not seeing significantly better trends compared to what it was like before the Toonami revival. Glad it's there though. I think that the key will be to see where Toonami is in 5 years or so, assuming it sticks around that long, because Toonami does have the ability to introduce a lot of people to anime introduce casual fans to various shows like Space Dandy. So the hope is that Toonami can expand that, for lack of a better term, that lower level of people. But it's kind of like Western animation. How do you define what Western animation is compared to other kinds of animation? Well, yeah, Helen McCarthy had a good definition there somewhere. She's really good. I actually got a chance to talk to her on. I got an interview with her on Otaku a couple years ago. That was awesome. Very very cool lady. I'd like to do that again. How I got into anime is a fairly large question. Hello, Matthew Marquez. Which I'll try to answer in brief. It depends on how you define that. I say that a lot. I'm sorry. When I was growing up, my favorite show was Voltron. Of course, I was 8 years old. I did not know that Voltron was made in Japan. But that was definitely it. And there's something about the kind of science fantasy aspect of that really fit my likes and my taste. Then when I was in the early to mid 90s, the Sci-Fi Channel got launched. I'm going to do an aside on the Sci-Fi Channel here, actually, in a bit. But the Sci-Fi Channel, after a couple of years, they started doing their festivals of anime, where for 1 week in summer, they would show anime for 3 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It would be like movies and OVAs, things like that. So you'd see different stuff. And so I saw Robot Carnival and Venus Wars and all sorts of stuff from the 80s and the 90s. And in particular, three things that I really enjoyed. One was a movie called Tenchi Moyo in Love, and of course I had seen no Tenchi up to that point, but I loved what I saw. Again, science fantasy. Dominion Tank Police, which impressed me because it was this goofy sci-fi comedy action story, which in the middle of it suddenly has this very serious meditation on what it means to be human, and they just change style totally. And I'm sure they handed it off to a different studio and said, "Here, just do this." This has a very different visual style, but it's this. I was sucked in for this sequence, and it was this quite deep meditation on man's inhumanity to man, if you will. And then Project Echo, which is this goofy comedy, sci-fi comedy, and I liked all of those. So I went from there to I wanted to get into this Japanese animation thing. So when I had my wisdom teeth pulled, as it turns out, like 2 days before, well, actually no, about a week before, I had ordered on Amazon from their newly created anime category. I ordered the new DVD release of the Tenchi Muyo OVA set, and that had arrived like 2 days before. And so I sat in my or laid in my bed, numbed up, and watched the first two Tenchi Muyo OVAs, and I was an anime fan from that point onwards. That was just yes, I want more of this for the rest of my life. um, and I went on from there. Is there a difference between animation like Disney Pixar and stuff like American Dad? Definitely. There's definitely a difference. There are different animation styles. American Dad and other TV animation tends to be what's called limited animation, where you only animate certain parts of the body. So that the head, that horrible show, Family Guy, is limited animation. So, does the West take anime as an art form seriously? No. Well, again, the West. Are we talking everybody in America? Then obviously not. It's obviously, well, anime is somewhat influential. But here's the thing. The Oscars are not a thing to judge anything by because the Oscars have a very specific set of intentions. You are not eligible for an Academy Award unless you run for at least 7 days straight in Los Angeles County, California. Unless you do that and do other things as well, you cannot win an Oscar. So the Oscars clearly are not really concerned with international film. It's a whole other thing. Cartoon Express. I don't know what that is. Yep, seen Venus Wars. Yes, in Mondays on the Sci-Fi Channel. But they used to do their festivals of anime in the summer, and they started doing Saturday anime, where yeah, for 3 hours in the Saturday morning they'd show anime as they called it. Not the these are not your normal Saturday morning cartoons. Cool, fifth grade teacher showing you Spirited Away, and that's what I love about good otaku getting out there and spreading the love. Just show a bunch of kids Spirited Away, or show things to people and see what they like, and who knows who you'll find. I mean, how many of those kids in that room turned into anime fans? Not all of them, but at least one did. I mean, here's how weird it gets. Korea, which animates much of anime, and Western animation, um, their animated movies die. I love Korean animated films. There are several Korean animated films that rank up for me amongst the greats, and they just make no money. Nobody goes to see animated movies in South Korea. Why? I don't know. The average person in Korea doesn't care. So Cartoon Express was the USA's Cartoon Express. I'm confused. Newest anime I've seen, again, Wizard Barrister, Space Dandy. Those are all currently airing. Oh, the USA Channel. I'm sorry. I got you. Sorry, I was a little confused there. They showed Princess. So I'm curious now, Mexican Otaku. Um, so did they show Princess Mononoke in your English class as an example of the dub? Interesting. Oh, USA is owned by the same. Oh yeah, that makes sense. USA is a Turner company, and so is Cartoon Network. So they're all owned by Turner. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Japanese anime is well. It's weird though. I mean, Japanese anime for several decades was illegal in Korea. You could not import anime into Korea for a long time, but it still made its way into the black market. Now that it's available, it's quite popular. But yeah, and it's interesting. Well, in Korea, Korean television animation has never really caught on. There aren't a lot of successful Korean animated TV series. So I think one of the reasons they love it is because if you're going to get animation in Korea, it's basically going to be Japanese anime. Zoro, Samurai X, and Dragon Ball. Cool. Yeah, Voltron for me was the thing. Um, and it's funny because I got several of the Voltron releases, and as fond as my memories of that show are, I have no interest in going back and rewatching it. I've moved on as a fan and as a person. I don't need to go back and rewatch that stuff. It's like, and I've seen bits and pieces and clips, and I was like, okay, this was fun when I was 8 years old, but that's okay. That sounds about right. I remember when Toonami first started. That was a pretty big deal. Folks were surprised that um, that Cartoon Network was starting a serious action block. And back then, it was kind of a stealth thing. It wasn't an anime block per se; it was action animation, and everyone knew it was these were all anime series. But Toonami presented it that they were well, and it wasn't all that. I mean, they showed the original Toonami showed Space Ghost and Johnny Quest and things like that, and it was the runaway popularity of the anime series compared to Johnny Quest that really went somewhere. I did not watch the new Dragon Ball Z movie. There are few things I find less worth pursuing than watching a new Dragon Ball Z movie. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan. Why would I see a new Dragon Ball Z movie? Again, nothing against anyone who likes it. It's just you know I don't watch monster trucks. I don't. There's a lot of stuff I don't watch. Um, Some anime focus a lot on the childhood friend. Is there a negative stereotype about Japanese men? Interesting question, Stefan. Why would the childhood friend be a negative stereotype about Japanese men? I don't understand. I don't understand what's negative or what the negative connotation would be about somebody having a childhood friend. Well, they've been planning to make a live action Voltron movie for like a decade. There have been sketches and plans for a Voltron movie for a long time. It's in development hell, like everything, like so many other things. I have not heard of G Reiko. G Reiko. It's a new one to me. Just searching it now. I'm not seeing any references to G Reiko, except for G Cup Reiko, which is a hentai work. G Cup Teacher Reiko. Yeah, it's funny, Dark Apple. That happens more often than I had thought. Same thing happened with Voltron, actually. It ended in Japan, and then it was so successful in America that the American company actually commissioned like 30 more episodes of Voltron. They were animated back in Japan by the original company. Yeah, yeah. No, Toonami was interesting. I mean, both within the industry, within the general like children's animation, if you will, industry, Toonami raised a lot of eyebrows that they were going to do an action animation block because that had kind of by the mid '90s there weren't a lot of people doing that so much. It moved over into talk shows in the afternoon, and so Toonami was kind of bringing back the weekday afternoon adventure animation concept. And then they were kind of again sort of filling out both American and Japanese, and then they brought in Gundam Wing. Well, the way it worked was that they were showing Dragon Ball Z, that did very well, and Sailor Moon did very well, which kind of surprised a lot of people. And they did Gundam Wing, and that just exploded all over the place, and that became popular, outside of Toonami. Like folks were, they were selling Gundam Wing models in Toys R Us. I don't have a best anime I've seen, Steve Jones. My brain doesn't work that way. I don't think I don't rank things in terms of this screwball comedy is worse than this drama. Ah, Tomino's new work. Yeah, I don't know. Haven't heard of it. Okay, so yeah, the childhood friend having undying love for the main character. Again, I don't see how that would be a negative reflection on the other character. I mean, I certainly see that behavior. I'm just not seeing why anyone would see that as a negative thing. Um, and please explain. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying I'm not seeing it. Let's see here. Wow, a lot of questions all of a sudden. Do I have a list of anime every fan should see list? No, because I don't believe in those lists. Again, it basically turns it into favorites. But I am starting a new. This is a good time to announce this. For season 2 of a Talking No Video. So in the next month or so, I'm going to be releasing a couple of videos in a new series called The Foundational Texts, which is basically each video is about some work of anime that I consider to be such a classic and so influential, such a foundational, work that it's worth at least checking them out. Or is it worth at least knowing why they were so influential? So I kind of explain. Here's what this was, and here's why it's worth checking out. So Akira, Dragon Ball Z, shows like those and movies like those. So I am going to be releasing some videos along those lines, but I don't have a full list. I'm not sure I'd want to do a full list of those because again, I don't know how full it would be. It would always be a fluid thing. How many anime blocks are there in the U.S.? As far as I know, just Toonami. Um, how popular is hentai in Japan? Pretty popular. It's still a subgenre basically of regular pornography, and there's tons of that. In fact, well, no, that doesn't really apply. So there's it certainly sells well, and hentai is pretty expensive because you have to pay people to draw it. It even inexpensive animation is still takes time and effort. So it must be doing pretty well. There are a couple of dozen hentai made every year in Japan. That gives you an idea. No, you're certainly right, Marvin. There is undoubtedly more anime on TV in Southeast Asia than there is in the U.S. No question. Again, and partly just because of they don't know how to sell it in America. You can put anime on TV, but who's going to put ads next to it? There's no good idea of what the market is and that kind of stuff. Plus, honestly, it's been hurt by the fact that anime sales in America have dropped so precipitously over the past decade or so. There's a view, as I understand it, that anime fans don't buy stuff anyway, so people don't generally advertise next to it. Yeah, GR Arcada has a list. Cool, go there. Now I'm fine with folks mentioning other YouTubers. I mean, that's fine. Well, any stereotype is negative. I disagree simply because a stereotype is stereotypes are not necessarily inaccurate. Stereotypes are indications of common behaviors. You don't want to treat people like they are stereotypes, but stereotypes do exist for a reason. See ya, Omex. Thanks for stopping by. I have read and seen Akira. The film, and I'll talk about this when I do my digging deeper on Akira. Actually, I think I have a review of that too somewhere. Akira the manga is a large, complex story of multiple characters, which has a lot of very interesting things to say with those characters, but where you have to see the characters' story arcs to understand that. There is a firm moral groundedness to Akira, a firm moral code, and you have to see where the characters start and and the decisions they make, and then where they end up to understand that moral code. Akira takes the first fourth of that and jettisons all of that moral stuff to just show you the action sequences. It's the only way they can make a comprehensible movie out of it, because otherwise you need a 10-hour film. But unfortunately, you lose almost all of that moral context to the characters and what's going on. As an action movie, Akira is still stunning, but anyway. Why don't anime studios release anime worldwide with international subs like Gundam Unicorn? A couple of reasons. Gundam Unicorn is an experiment, and it is being released significantly cheaper than it would normally be in Japan. Most studios cannot afford to release anime any cheaper than it already is. Gundam has enough heft, and because Unicorn is such a relatively small portion of the Gundam the Gundam ongoing franchise, that they can afford to take that risk. Um, so the folks of you who may be wondering what I mean by this, in most anime is sold at about $70 to $80 per disc in Japan, and you get 2 to 3 episodes per disc. So you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on your anime series over there in Japan. Then it gets licensed to other countries and released over there. They cannot do those licenses and release them immediately, because otherwise the Japanese fans will buy those cheaper ones on Amazon or equivalent, and thus they won't make back their money. That original Japanese selling of a series basically makes back the money. That's how you get paid. And then profits come from if the show is particularly popular or if it gets a good international release. But they have to count on a bunch of otaku in Japan spending $70 a disc for 6 volumes to make that work. So they can't do Gundam Unicorn because then they're putting it out there for 2/3 of that for everyone. And yes, it's more expensive for international audiences, but international audiences aren't paying $30 a disc. So, the received wisdom in Japan. And again, I'm not saying they couldn't do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm saying the general belief is that if they did do that, they just would not make the money. There's nothing indicating that a single work can make its money back on that. Plus, the thing about the releases is that, as Camille says, subbing something in 6 languages is expensive. Bandai can afford that. KyoAni probably can't. Thank you, Dark Devil. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, a generalization by definition applies to most people in a group. Well, actually, tell you what, guys, let's turn away from the definition of stereotype, and let's try to get more towards the question. So, Stefan, can you ask your question in a way that doesn't use the term stereotype? Are you saying that there's something negative about the idea of having a childhood friend? Are you saying that people think that all or the large majority of males in Japan have a cute childhood friend who lives next to them who has undying affection for them? I think that's where we're getting confused, is to in what context you're using that term. Yeah, no. I believe Akira actually flopped. I'm sorry. I believe Otomo actually flopped Akira himself. That was same with Ghost in the Shell. Actually, Shiro flopped that himself. So that was Otomo's fault. Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing that it was annoying. um, there was this big thing that happened in the 80s, or maybe no, the late 70s, I think, when I think it was Osamu Tezuka was invited over to San Diego Comic Con, and he was shocked to discover this huge comic industry in America, and none of them had the vaguest clue that manga existed. And he said, "My gosh, there are all these people buying comics. We make comics. Here's a huge industry." So he actually got a bunch of mangaka to go over to Comic Con for several years and like hawk their wares and make Americans aware of manga. And this was in again like the very early '80s. And like we're talking Katsuhiro Otomo and Tezuka and a lot of the other Akira Toriyama, I believe, a lot of the really big heavy hitters at the time. Actually, early '80s, Toriyama might not have been a big name. Anyway, um, so a lot, huge names in Japanese manga came over to San Diego Comic Con, and no one had any clue who they were. So as a result of that, there was this big push amongst those people to get their stuff in English. And one of the reasons we have a lot of the manga we have today is because they started, pounding on everyone they could to try to get their stuff released over here. And of course, a lot of publishers just weren't interested, and so it took a while. So that's why folks like Otomo and Shiro actually did a lot of the work to flop their stuff and colorize it, because the belief was that they couldn't get it in America unless it was in color and flopped, which arguably was true. I mean, let's not disagree, or let's point out the fact that manga was not popular when it first came out in America. It took years and years for manga to get huge, and that's because people just got used to it. They had to get used to the way manga looked and the way manga was, and then we started getting unflopped stuff. Oh, I see what you're asking, Stefan. It's wish fulfillment. It is totally wish fulfillment. Just think about this. What are the odds that the the family living directly next to you on the other side has a female child the same age as your male child? Now you start there, and then everything else rolls. How likely is it that they are both friends, that they grew up, that they stayed in the same place for the whole time? Japan's a pretty mobile society. Folks move a lot. So wish fulfillment, total wish fulfillment. The girl is there to be a convenient person for the main character to possibly have a crush on. Good question. Good question. Yeah, Otomo made Akira. Um, Otomo, that's right. Otomo was involved in Metropolis. Metropolis was originally an Osamu Tezuka story. Otomo adapted it for screen, did the screenplay, and Rintaro directed Metropolis, and then Steam Boy. Otomo does more short film work. He's done a lot of short film work. So Otomo did Freedom, the OVA, and he's working on a thing called Short Piece right now, which may be released or maybe in the middle of release, something like that. Yeah, and so a lot of that Viz stuff was part of that push to get this stuff out here. And then of course we got the whole manga cow movement, which kind of killed that. But manga is still a huge thing. Otomo did not direct Metropolis. Rintaro directed Metropolis. He adapted it. Sorry, Otomo adapted it. But yeah, done a lot of interesting stuff. But he was also involved in Manie. What's it called? It was retitled over here. Neo Tokyo was a short, a collection of short films. So if you look up Neo Tokyo, he directed the last segment of Neo Tokyo. Oh, and he also did that other thing, the other short film project. Yeah, Metropolis has got gorgeous music. Oh, is Domu out of print? That's a shame. Of course, we're now entering that phase where there's a lot of stuff you can actually get. It's actually being reprinted. It's kind of cool seeing that some stuff actually does get rescued. So you wait around for a while and you get some rescue. That's the one I'm thinking of, Zachary. That's the order to stop construction. That's where there's the closing the factory in the swamp. I have a huge stack of manga. I hear that, Mexican Otaku. I have a huge stack of manga to go through, and I'm not even keeping up with much stuff. But well, getting that manga mystery box didn't help. Like I now have 20 more volumes to read. But yeah, I want to finish up 7 Billion Needles. Love that. Blood Alone. I got some more Barefoot Gen to read. I have some Oh My Goddess, actually, to read. There was a sale on that last con I went to, and it's like, oh, here are 4 volumes for like $4 each. Fine. But I'm not too big on manga. Manga's at least relatively inexpensive. Yeah, that is one of my favorites. The Order to Stop Construction is just a wonderful, wonderful little thing. In a lot of ways, you know, it works on multiple levels. Oops. Okay. I'm getting a little worried about the Classic Club and starting that. How's the manga Dio? Domo's going for $100. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, it's Short Piece. Thank you. That's the current Otomo project. Short Piece. Peace as in not war. What cons do I usually go to? Otakon, Anime USA, and Katsucon. And from that, you can probably get a hint about something having to do with me. I will be at PAX East this year. Oh, nice, Mexican Otaku, getting the Sakura omnibuses. That's how I want to read Sakura. I want to track down the omnibuses. Um, it's just one of those things where it's well, I wanted to get it at my local library, but the selection is really staggered. So it's volumes 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and you know. So Azumanga Daioh is a goofy, over-the-top comedy. So if you're up for that sort of an absurdist comedy, it's definitely one of the classics within that genre. Although I will say, if you want to check out Azumanga Daioh, the manga is available as one thick volume. You'll get pretty much all the jokes, and you can read it in an evening. Just saying. Yeah, Gege no Kitaro is huge. Now I hear that, long live. I have 300 anime DVDs I haven't even watched yet, much less the ones I have. So I totally agree with that. plus anime on my hard drive I haven't watched yet. And oh, nope, I don't do that. Never mind. All right, see you, Matthew. That's the cool thing about the industry. And it's I'm glad to hear you guys say stuff that you have lots of stuff you want to see. Because so often I see folks who come around here and say, recommend me a good anime this season only. Like, really? No. I don't watch anime unless it just came out. Only today's anime is good. Yeah. So I'm thinking for the classic club, and it's getting to the point, and I apologize. I want to do the classic club, but I'm starting to fall down. I had a cool but long day, and a long day yesterday. Anyway, neither here nor there. So let's talk classic club here for a minute. Um, I want to show stuff that is hard to find, and it's also a classic. So I think, especially with this group, it's going to be okay for me to show something that is older and that's a little more obscure. Yeah, I totally don't have a terabyte hard drive with a significant amount of MKV files on it at all. Um, Speaking of which, so let's talk a little bit about this. All right. Yeah. So here's the thing. Um, I want to watch. I want for the Classic Club us to watch unusual things, but also I don't want to watch something that's 50 episodes long because I'd like us to watch complete things. Imagine that. So, but fortunately, again, I think we can watch some older OVAs or some movies and things like that. And you guys aren't going to scream and yell because the animation doesn't look modern. And again, I'm getting tired, so I may have to just skip the Classic Club for next week. And again, I apologize if I suddenly start conking out here. I would like to do the Classic Club, but I need to be aware of my limitations. So let me just pull up some things and throw you guys some ideas, and just get a feel for what you guys might be interested in going for. Yeah, Mazinger Z is a great example where I would love to watch that with you guys and talk about it, but it would take months. Venus Wars is that is an excellent idea, Zachary. It is I mean, again, classic is kind of in terms of the anime industry, I don't know that it's a classic, but it's got enough meat to it that we can certainly talk about it. So I like that idea. But let me see what else I have that's unusual and again, not easily findable, and just get a feel from you guys to what might be interesting. So we have various movies. Why is I watched that? I should not have that marked as unwatched. So there's the Captain Harlock movie, Arcadia of My Youth, which is unfortunately like 2.5 hours long, but still. I mean, I don't know. Would you guys be interested in even like really, really old stuff? We're talking 60s and 70s movies. Legend of the White Serpent, the first color animated film in Japan. Um, Heck, we could watch Momotaro's Divine Sea Warriors, the first animated film ever made in Japan, which is good luck finding that, and it's not subbed. Hmm. I've actually shown Robot Carnival, but we could do that for the Classic Club for discussion. Um, I could do the Ideon movies. Space Runaway Ideon, which is, for those who don't know, was a major inspiration for Neon Genesis Evangelion. The original Gundam movies, that's a good thought as well. Hey, Vincent, we're just talking about what we might show for the Classic Club. Yeah. Yeah, Marathon Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Yeah, I hear that. Um, so I mean, do you guys have a? Oh, that's why I have two copies of Magic Treehouse. Um, you, know, you guys kind of up for that? Oh, see you, Camille. Thanks for stopping by. All right, yeah. So folks are up for older shows. That's good, or older movies. Let me see, like OVAs. And of course, we can also watch stuff that wasn't hugely popular, but just talk about it. That's fine too. I have some stuff on here. I have no idea what this stuff is. Urban Square. I have to Google it. Um, Training with Hanako. Didn't realize I had that. And we can watch little stuff. Super Flat Monogram. Um, Ooh, I have Hattori. That would be an interesting one too. We could watch Angel's Egg. Everyone's confused by Angel's Egg. Okay, good. So folks are up for that. Cool. I have seen the first 4 episodes of Gundam Unicorn. 5. I think 5. No. 4. I think the first 4 episodes of Gundam Unicorn. Um, Blown away by it. And for some reason, like I've been getting the discs and like they show up, and I can't bring myself to watch anymore. I think the reason is whatever episode I ended on was so amazing, worked for me on so many levels that I was like, the next one is going to disappoint me. And it's a terrible way to approach it, but I'm so afraid that I'm going to be disappointed by the next one because the one I saw was just yes, 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 yes. Yep, Angel's Egg is Tenchi no Tamago. Um, Giant Robo, maybe. Yeah, my backlog, and of course, this is all stuff I've seen. That's not my backlog. In fact, it might make sense actually to go through my backlog instead of stuff I've seen. Because again, we're going to be doing this as a smaller group, so I don't have to worry about oh my gosh, and they're having sex or whatever. It's more oh my gosh, she's completely naked. And she's 14 years old. Yeah, happens. Heck, original Gundam, and they're 6. Nude, by the way, not having. No, never mind. Oh, it got Universal Century, Vincent. That's awesome. Yeah. Very little dialogue in Angel's Egg, like a few lines here and there. Oh yeah, that sucks. Rock and roll. Angel's Egg is an option. How long is Angel's Egg? I think it's not hugely long. Let me just pull it up and see what the length is on that. I think for the first time here, I'd kind of like to keep it short. I mean, not 2.5 hours, in other words. Doesn't want to play. Angel's Egg's a little over an hour. Possible. We should watch Davos one of these days. I know I've shown it, but that'd be worth talking about. I have Hinotori too. Okay. So Angel's Egg is a strong contender. Again, my issue is that tonight I'm going to be kind of addled, so I don't know that I want to stick with something that I'm not going to be able to make sense out of. I think the Utna movie would be a classic. It's over 10 years old. We could do that. Unfortunately, I don't have it, but that would certainly be on the list. Yeah, I think it's a classic. Yeah, I'm not really up for the marathons, Dark Realm. I'm not built that way. Um, let's see here. We could do the Digimon movies. The Digimon movies are half an hour, and there's some interesting stuff there. That would be a good starting point, I think. Well, that's interesting. And even if you don't like Digimon, there's some interesting stuff here. So don't be put off by the fact it's a Digimon movie, because I'm talking about the original Japanese ones, not the American one. Yeah, that's more my speed tonight. So I think we're gonna do that. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. I am going to end YouTube Live. Thank you, Zachary. Don't worry about it. I can certainly get a copy of the Utna movie. I can certainly find that. I can buy a copy or find a copy. Appreciated though. I appreciate that. So tell you what, let's do. Actually, not so much partying. Work was tiring. I was involved in some neat stuff on Friday, but it was just a lot of information. And then Friday night, I had to get together at a board game club, which lasted till 11 o'clock. And then today, I was out for a wine tasting tour for much of the afternoon. So I had a couple of glasses worth of wine, and then I ran a game of my upcoming tabletop game, The Whispering Road. So I ran a 2-hour game of that, and then I shut that off and turned the cameras back on for this. So that's why I'm a little addled. I got the wine in me plus everything else. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the live stream, and then in like a minute or two, it's not going to be Ustream. I'm going to start a Hangout on Google Plus. You'll need to jump over to your Google Plus accounts, and then look in your stream. You have to refresh your stream a couple of times, and you'll see Brent Newhall is starting a Hangout. Do you want to join in? And so if you click to join in on that, then you'll join in on basically a live video conferencing call, and we can all talk about that. And so we'll all be there in one big thing. And it'll be well, anyway. So we can do it that way. And we'll watch the first Digimon movie. It is actually a part of the English Digimon movie, but they reworked it for the Digimon film. So it's going to be interesting if we watch this. So again, head on over to Google Plus and make sure you follow me on Google Plus, and look for that. And once we have 10 people in there, we will be done, or we will be full rather. And so I'll wait for you folks to show up, and then we'll queue it up and start on that. And I'm sure there'll be technical issues. By the way, when we're done, we will talk about it as a recorded video. So you will actually get a chance to be recorded on video with me talking about it. But if you don't want to be part of that recording, you can drop off the call after the movie started, after the movie's ended, and before we go. So please come in. And if you don't feel like talking, that's cool. You don't have to. You can just leave after the movie's over. But I'd love to get into a conversation with all of you about this particular little thing. All right, so I'm going to stop broadcast, head over to Google+. See you guys there in a little while, and we will get started. See you there.